Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to this Startup Grind event. I'm excited and proud to say that we've been doing these events every month for more than 4 years now. So please give a big round of applause to our event team, especially Josh and John, for putting this all together. A big shout out today goes to Marion and Claire from our event team, who got here super early and helped set up the chairs and move tables and everything. We are so thankful and appreciative to that entire team. Thank you too to DigitalOcean, who is giving their office and the food for this event. You're in their cafeteria right now, so please give them a big round of applause. Definitely check out their cloud hosting services if you haven't checked it out before. Just a very few housekeeping things before we get started. If at any point you need a bathroom during the talk, please hold it. No, I'm kidding. There are bathrooms in the back, outside, like in the elevator bay, but before you hit the elevators, you turn left and keep walking. You'll eventually see bathrooms back in that direction. We do Q&A during these talks. We do it in the second half of the talk usually. However, if at any point during the entire talk you have a question, please use the hashtag StartupGrindNYC, hashtag StartupGrindNYC. Just send out a tweet, and I will actually actively be pulling up the tweets on my phone as we're going through the conversation. I'm not getting distracted. I'm not like checking my email or anything. I'm actually looking at Twitter. So if you see me check my phone, you know why. And we always get some really interesting, unique questions from the audience. So please, please do take a moment to get on the Wi-Fi. Pull out your phone. The Wi-Fi is right there. The network name is DigitalOcean Guest, and the password is Sammy Droplet. Sammy Droplet. So if you can't see it there, or if you can't see it behind me at any point, please do not raise your hand, because that would be a little disruptive. But quietly tap your neighbor on their shoulder and ask them, hey, do you remember what the Wi-Fi password is? Please do tweet when you have a second. Again, it's DigitalOcean Guest. Sammy Droplet is the password. We are so excited today to have Hayley Barna with us. In addition to being a venture partner currently at First Round Capital, she's also the co-founder of Birchbox. So Hayley, would you please come on up? And everyone here, please give her a big welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Come on, louder. All right, so how's your mic doing?
Testing. Hello, hello.
Can everyone hear Hayley?
Can you guys hear me in the back?
All right.
Yes, okay.
Sweet. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Barna is an interesting name.
Thanks.
Where does Barna come from?
It's my parents' last name.
Oh, that's pretty logical.
It means brown in Hungarian. There's your fun fact.
All right, that is a fun fact
for the day.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. We're really excited to have you. Where are we going to start? Let's see. We can start at the beginning. You were, earlier in life, you were a management consultant.
I know.
That seems a little bit different from where you are now.
It's so embarrassing in the startup world.
No,
yeah,
how does it translate? What's the difference?
So basically, I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Like, I wasn't one of those kids who had it all figured out, who would like confidently answer, oh, like I'm gonna be a doctor or a lawyer. I always liked everything. I think I'm like the consummate generalist. I love to learn. I also have a commitment to using both sides of my brain. So left brain and right brain. Like, I love me some data and a really nice looking graph. But I also love creativity.
Is that like a common trait for entrepreneurs? Like
liking
being
graphs?
a generalist? Well, liking graphs, hopefully. Graphs are important.
Graphs that go up and to the right. No, I don't know. I think there's lots of different types of founders.
Yeah.
I think I'm the archetype of a generalist. So I think like my superpower is learning things quickly and understanding things quickly and solving problems quickly. A lot of founders are very narrow and deep in their skill set, whether it's in a vertical or that like they are the world's best at one thing. And I think both types end up being great founders.
Let's jump right into this
But that's why I went to management consulting. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Did it help?
I think the alternative when I was a senior in college, I took the GREs and thought maybe I would get a PhD specifically in behavioral economics because I had studied a mix of microeconomics and psychology. And social psychology, I really loved thinking about how people made decisions, irrationally and particularly made decisions with money. And I thought that would be a really fun thing to research and sort of, go deep on, but realized that I didn't want to be a professor, so why spend 6 years doing that? And with the free pizza at the management consulting info sessions, I was lured in by the free food. I realized that management consulting had a lot of what I liked about doing research, which was smart people, interesting problems, but you got to wear better outfits, and the people were more social. So that's how I ended up working at Bain in New York, which was my first job out of college.
Certainly a lot of very, very smart people in management consulting.
Yeah, smart and fun, which is a good combo.
Yeah.
It was like a really work hard, play hard environment, which I'm grateful that I started my career there.
You probably spend 90 hours a week with those people.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy. But I mean, do you see similarities between that lifestyle and the startup lifestyle? I mean, fun and workaholic?
I mean, so after spending 3 years as a management consultant, I was totally convinced that it was the best way to start my career in that I got a fantastic business education, crash course really quickly. I got exposed to a lot of different industries, learned how to, as someone who was like 22, walk into a boardroom and have an opinion and be listened to and to have data to back it up. But I knew I didn't want to be removed from the results and removed from the customer. My customer was essentially my boss, right? Like, let me make sure that this slide is accurate and looks good so that my boss could then present it to the client for the client to maybe one day make a decision in their business, to maybe one day create results. Like, that was not for me.
Yeah.
So I can talk all day about the similarities and differences. I think it's, things are similar, but some things are just like diametrically opposed about consulting and startups.
At what point did you decide to leave that? You went to business school afterward. At what point did you decide that you wanted to try something maybe more entrepreneurial? Was it before you went to business school? Did you go to business school saying, I want to learn how to be an entrepreneur?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Okay, so first, I spent a third year in consulting because there was this amazing opportunity to have an externship. So if you decide to stay a third year, you could either transfer to another office anywhere in the world or be lent out as an extern to a company. So I wanted to do both. So I moved to Hong Kong and I worked for Christie's, the auction house. Because again, I loved thinking about how people spent money, and one of the most crazy corners of the economy is luxury goods, and particularly like, why do people spend $150 million on a single painting?
Even more so than ever now. They're like records.
I know.
Constantly.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I grew up in New York and I went to school in Boston, and I thought of myself as a global person, but I'd never lived outside of the Northeast, and I thought that was pretty lame. So I thought taking 6 months to live in Hong Kong would be, good for personal growth. So that was great. That's where I applied to business school. And all I knew is that I knew I wanted to get closer to the customer, and I knew I wanted to have accountability for results. I wrote my business school essay about joining my family business.
Oh, what's your family business?
Yeah, so that doesn't really show up on my LinkedIn. But I grew up around. I don't know, it's a little stealth. So I grew up around business and entrepreneurship. My brother now runs the 4th generation manufacturing firm that my great-grandfather started.
Wow.
And so I grew up around business conversations at the dinner table when my dad was talking to my mom, who also worked there, about marketing strategy or who to hire or who to fire. And I think that was sort of like in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Wow.
So having been exposed to that, I think, was sort of formative.
Was that was based in the Northeast?
Yep, in northern New Jersey.
Okay.
They make lighting fixtures. It's very glamorous. Could not be more different than e-commerce and beauty products.
Yeah, it's about as brick and mortar as you get.
Yeah, so I thought, like, if you know, I realized that I liked business, and if I want to be accountable for results, maybe the best way to do that is, like, you know, I don't care about lighting fixtures, but like if I want to be on the hook for results, like there was that very interesting place to sink my teeth into. So that was one hypothesis for my business school career. And then the second hypothesis was basically being a product manager at a tech company was the other thing I thought I might do after business school.
Did your parents, as business owners, you know, how did they feel about you starting a new company, especially while you're in a very expensive business school?
So they're actually a big reason that I decided to take the leap. I actually remember going out to dinner with them, talking about, I guess, you know, different job offers or things I would do over the summer. And I think it was probably my dad who said, Hayley, if you're going to go into business, why work for someone else? Like, you're someone who's really capable and you work hard at whatever you do. You're going to create value. You should own all that value. How come you haven't thought about starting your own business?
Yeah.
And so it was actually my parents who pushed me to think that far and pushed me to say, like, if you're going to work 100-hour weeks,
right,
like, do it for yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so maybe they're different than the typical parents.
Right. Yeah, maybe not.
Thanks,
There's
Mom
a
and
lot of
Dad.
small businesses out there. Cool. Well, so, you know, when you started saying how much of a generalist you were and you were kind of looking for this thing, even I think I looked at your description of when you were co-CEO at Birchbox. It said you were doing like marketing, strategy, technology, and like something else. It was like a bunch of different things. How, you know, you spent 5 years as co-CEO with your co-founder. What were how did those personalities jive? I mean, so if you were a generalist, was she a specialist? Or were you two generalists who chose to focus in different areas? Yeah,
so on paper, Katya and I look like we have very similar skill sets, right? We met the first day of class at HBS. So we're both business people with MBAs. But we have very different sort of strengths and skill sets and natural inclinations. So when we decided, we had the idea for Birchbox and decided to start it, to be honest, in the formative early stages, we were just mind melded, right? Like, you've got to make sure you have the same vision. You've got to make sure you've got the same strategy. But then very naturally, we gravitated towards the functional areas that we either enjoyed or that we were best at.
So if you found an area where it was clear that you had to align, how would you, I mean, would you just pick up the phone and say, hey, we need to talk about this now?
Well, I mean, for the first year or 2 years, you just look each other in the eye, right? Yeah. Like, you're not that far apart.
Yeah.
But basically, what we had to do, you have to move fast when you have a startup. So it's like, again, making sure that, like, the long-term vision, what you want out of the company, like the vision of what you're building, it's the same, but that you fully trust each other on the, like, day-to-day decisions and the functional areas that you own. And Katya's an incredibly charismatic salesperson, storyteller, creator of opportunity, like, leader of people. And she also grew up in Texas, where she knows her way around a beauty counter and could talk very enthusiastically about beauty products. So she's the one who had this love for the beauty industry. And she's also good at everything, but I think those are where she spikes, where I don't. And I came at the idea and the concept as someone who hadn't engaged in the beauty category, so someone who was intimidated by the overwhelming selection in beauty and who'd opted out because I thought it was an intimidating purchase process, who felt that Sephora or department stores was awful, so I just like wouldn't wear makeup. So that's what I brought in terms of like the customer perspective. And then I love
like the
measuring things and creating frameworks and all of that. So it was sort of, and I had the sort of like the tech confidence to build out the digital side of the platform.
Okay. So how did you, I mean, you first started working, you were both in business school together.
Yeah.
And you first started working together before the idea of creating a company together.
Yes. So our first projects were mostly costume parties and spring break trips. But those could be stressful and important. And if you work well with someone, planning a spring break trip to Mexico for 50 people and everyone comes back alive.
Success.
Then you know that you're compatible. So we were just friends. We were really close friends who enjoyed doing things together. But we would always sort of joke about business ideas. It was sort of part of our friendship language would be to joke about something and then like build on each other's ideas in terms of what the business plan would be like. Everything from leggings for men, which now exists, but we thought of it first. And then there was a whole business plan around the fact that some people like pie crust more than they like pie filling. And anyway, a lot of these ideas were not good.
So you were founders in search of a business.
We didn't even realize it. We were just friends at business school.
Just making stuff up and having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so staying on the same subject, but fast forwarding in time a little bit. Now you're a venture partner for First Round Capital,
yep.
Which has been investing and made some incredible investments, been around for 12 years. But staying on the same subject of this kind of co-founder dynamic, do you have any observations on all the pitches that you've seen as an angel investor and venture partner in the difference between like a certain set of co-founders versus a solo founder versus like how those dynamics play out? Raise your hand in the audience if you are like looking for a co-founder for some idea right now. All right, a few people. Raise your hands higher.
You three should meet.
Yeah, maybe this is your opportunity. How many people have had like weird or interesting co-founder dynamics in the past? Raise your hands. All right. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So first of all, observations about co-founder dynamics. I mean, I think now that I'm on the other side of the table as an investor, especially as an early stage investor, one of the biggest inputs into a decision to invest in a business or not is the people or the team. And I think, first of all, you look for someone who, like, I like to ask the questions like, why you, why this? Like, there needs to be, like, startups are really hard, really, really hard. There needs to be a huge reason, it's probably personal, that you need to make this thing exist, that you need to push through everything that's hard about starting a business in order to create something out of nothing. And if you don't have a good reason for telling me that, then I have a hard time believing that you're gonna make the impossible happen.
If a solo founder approaches you, is that kind of a red flag? Like, why haven't you put a team behind this?
No, not at all. I mean, I like to hear from that founder, like, what the narrative is that brought them to, like, why this and why you. And sometimes if they're bringing two other people who clearly aren't as passionate about it as them, and they're just sort of like doing the legwork, maybe better to leave them behind and not include them in the pitch, to be honest.
Yeah.
The other thing is, only bring someone to a pitch meeting who has something to really contribute and add. I call it like the silent partner or like the hype person. Like if there's just like a silent person there that's like nodding at everything that you're saying and the investor's like, why is this person sitting on the couch?
Just like,
don't bring them.
That's right. What he said.
Yeah. don't bring them to the pitch unless they have a role to play. And that would typically be, this is my technical co-founder. They're going to walk you through the demo. Or they're going to take you through the technical aspects of the product that we're building. Or I'm doing something very operationally intensive, and this is my COO and co-founder, and they're going to walk through slides 10 through 15. They need to have a voice in the pitch. So there's just some things that come to mind.
Okay, sure, yeah. How much, what's the expectation now in terms of how far along something is before it comes to a venture capital table?
Yeah, so we raised the seed round for Birchbox we started trying to raise it in the spring of 2010.
While you were still in business school?
Right when we graduated.
Okay.
We were sort of thinking on the academic calendar. We had run a proof of concept or a beta test while we were still students, which was the reason that we decided to graduate and take the leap and start the thing, is that like the data came out great. For me, the data came out great. For my co-founder, she always knew, because like that's the way she makes decisions. It's like she just knew it.
Yeah.
And we started talking to angel investors, and we got the runaround. Like it was actually really tough to raise the seed rounds initially based on that proof of concept, even though the data was so awesome, because we didn't have the momentum. It was sort of this catch-22 of like we needed the money to get started, but the investors needed to see us get started before they gave us the money. Long story short, ultimately, after raising from friends and family and launching and getting the momentum that we needed, we found a great set of investors to support us. The lead investors, First Round Capital, where I now work. So they led the seed round back in 2010. And we raised $1.4 million, which was way more than we thought we were going to raise. It was actually, I think, an above average seed round back in 2010 was 1.4 million. So that was what my idea of a seed round was. And when I started angel investing in 2015, and now seeing the sort of terms and the deal sizes that First Round does, the definition of a seed round has changed significantly just in 5 years. So the average seed round is over $2 million. People are using the term pre-seed. So a lot of companies are raising pre-seed rounds of up to $1 million before they raise the seed rounds of 2 million plus.
Maybe you can help me out on like what does pre-seed actually mean? Because the idea of seed is like it's like a test, but then angel is like just a wing and a prayer. Where's
like the names are meaningless. I think people put too much weight on like the terminology. Pre-seed just basically means like they still want to raise a seed.
They want to reserve the right to later say that we're now raising our seed round?
Yeah, but roughly it's probably pre-seed rounds are probably the people involved are more likely to be friends and family or angels. There's some funds now that are operating in the pre-seed stage explicitly, and usually those rounds are $1 million or less. And you know, what you need to know raising a pre-seed amount is that the $1 million or less will probably only give you a 12-month runway. So it's a pretty short clock to be able to prove or create traction such that you deserve a higher valuation at the seed round than you got at the pre-seed rounds. But now there's like seed twos and seed extensions and all there's just a lot more activity at the seed stage, which ultimately I think is a really good thing for the startup ecosystem and a good thing for founders. I think the reason that the size of rounds have increased and the types of rounds have increased is that there's more capital available from more sources, and that's a good thing. It means more companies will be funded.
So as Birchbox, did you feel like when you raised that 1.4 million that you had, were you talking about a proof of concept? Do you feel like you'd proven that there was market traction? Do you feel like you were going to use that capital to simply ramp up operations? you know, and how's that changed compared to like a $2 million seed round now?
So for us, what we had done with the beta test, which was totally bootstrapped, for us that was a proof of concept that like, look, what we were doing was crazy. No one had ever paid for samples before. There wasn't a subscription for everything. We were solving a pain point we knew as consumers, which was making it more fun and efficient to find the products that were right for you. And we happened to create this business model, which was structured as try, learn, buy, a monthly subscription of personalized samples sent to your door. And we proved while we were still in school that, first of all, people will pay for samples, something they previously were taught to think were free. We proved that when they receive the samples, they will convert to buying full-size versions of those products on our site, not at their local mall or Sephora, that they would come back to us to buy full-size versions. And we proved that the beauty industry, which is a very traditional, also like very sort of like precious in terms of the brands involved, were willing to work with a startup like us, like total outsiders to the industry. So I think we had proven the concept, and the seed really for us was about traction and growth and scale, which we were incredibly lucky. We hit our year 5 goal before we finished our first year. The product market fit was so there. Yeah. Both in terms of how quickly the industry was excited to move to create a digital channel through Birchbox, and in terms of the pain point and excitement that consumers felt around consuming in this category in this way. And you're probably going to ask me, like, is it different now in terms of what people have to prove at their seed rounds? And I think it really depends on your business model. You know, like for some companies, we give them that $2 million seed rounds simply to prove that they can have ridiculously happy customers, but it doesn't matter how many. And for other business models, we give them that $2 million so that they could have that trajectory and the graph that goes up and to the right, and that, you know, traction and growth is more important at the seed stage. It's not a one size fits all. Yeah,
but it seems like you were combining a few new ideas all at once, and all of those ideas worked out pretty well. I mean, Birchbox is certainly known for being one of the first companies of the tech era to start the subscription idea, but you're also simultaneously basing a lot of your revenue on actual full product sales, right? Which not a lot of people necessarily immediately think of Birchbox for. We were just saying backstage, there's like a Birchbox for, you were saying you had a list of like more than 100 things of like,
I think it's over 1,000 in terms of the monthly subscriptions for. To be honest, as I said before, like we weren't trying to create a subscription. What Katya and I talked about was it's hard to buy beauty products, especially hard to buy them online. How can we make that process better? We were starting with a consumer insight, and then we built the right consumer experience to solve for that. It happened to include a recurring payment in the form of a subscription, which created a close relationship between us and that consumer, which motivated her to give us information about herself and her needs and preferences, which allowed us to target the right products to her, to have her trust and feel like she was having a dialogue or almost a friendship with our brand, which was incredibly valuable to the beauty industry partners that we needed to convince to do this crazy thing of giving samples to a third party in order to target them and help them find consumers. That happened to be a monthly box that had a subscription payment.
Well, it's amazing.
But then I think, first of all, if I could go back in time, I probably wouldn't call it Birchbox. I think the box focused people too much on just what was really new and innovative, but the fact that you have this personalized set of products arriving at your doorstep. But I think it caught consumer attention at the same time that it caught the like broader tech or entrepreneurship
way.
Imagination, and it was so simple and so effective that you couldn't help but say, ah, that's so smart. What else could this apply to? And almost immediately, a ton of Birchbox for X or Birchbox for Y's launched. Whether it was people launching beauty subscriptions in other countries, or people domestically launching, Birchbox for food, or Birchbox for comic books, or Birchbox for, literally, there's a site, you could Google it, I think it has over 1,000 monthly subscriptions for stuff. But for us, that's only one part of our business model, right?
Yeah, again, like most of those imitators based entirely around the idea of monthly subscription, which is an idea that's actually been around for a long time.
Yeah,
Beer of the month, wine of the month, cigar of the month, whatever.
Yeah, and that's about, I think, the traditional, subscription fits a lot of different needs. Like a lot of those they're sort of like replenishment driven subscription.
Right.
There's the gift driven, or like, oh, this is fun, I get different citrus from California shipped to me every month. For us, the subscription was step one of find the right products for you. The editorial and combining content and commerce is a big part of our DNA. So that was element number 2, and then integrating it into a retail channel. And ultimately, that's what Birchbox is a retailer. So I would bet 99% of those companies that's on that 1,000 company subscription box list don't do number 2 and number 3, but for us, that's where the real value is created.
Yeah, I think the most amazing thing is that you focused on solving a problem first, and the subscription just happened to be the way you chose to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Definitely. Why don't we go to a few tweets? And again, if you have a question, just hashtag StartupGrindNYC. Where is Chippy Kennedy? Chip Kennedy. Hey, it's Chip, yeah? Yeah. Hey, how's it going, Chip? So Chip's question is, Hayley, do you think business school was pivotal for your entrepreneurship career? How about for other people?
Personally, for me, I have to say yes. I met my co-founder while at business school. We had the luxury of almost a full academic year of piloting and doing a proof of concept and leveraging the resources on campus. So for me, yes. I don't think it's a necessary step by any means. Generally, when people ask me whether business school is worth it, I'd say if you know exactly what you want to do now and you know the next steps to do it, like it's a very expensive 2-year detour. So just go do what it is that you know you want to do now. But if you're looking for inspiration, connections, or just time and space to mature and grow as a business person, then business school is great. As an ad for business school, not only did I meet my co-founder, I met my husband, and I met the lead investor for our $50 million Series B rounds. All 3 of those people were in my section of 90 people at Harvard Business School. So that's pretty good, right? Although it also makes me look like I don't search that far.
Well, we were talking about there's kind of a mafia from that class of Harvard Business School, especially for New York Tech, right?
So I entered business school in 2008. A month later, the economy fell apart, right? Lehman Brothers collapsed, the stock market fell dramatically. And I actually think that was a blessing in that I think a lot of myself and my classmates were encouraged to really think about what we were passionate about, and we were given the space away from easy private equity or investment banking or consulting job offers to really think about what do I want to do and what to create. And so you see that in the numbers. So in my graduating class at HBS, Katya and I graduated and started Birchbox. Blue Apron, Matt Salzberg, the founder of Blue Apron, was our year. So Plated, the competitor, also our year. Bobble Bar, another New York-based e-commerce company. Flatiron School, Adam was also in my section. It's a really incredible list of people who went into entrepreneurship, and I do think part of it was because of the macroeconomic cycle.
Cool. So let's switch gears slightly and take a question from Alice Stylogic. Alice? Hey, how's it going? So her question has a marketing focus. So when you were at Birchbox, what marketing approach gave you the greatest traction?
So my typical answer to this is really infuriating, which is I think that the best marketing strategy comes from creating a product that people love, and that we were lucky and fortunate in that the holistic service that was Birchbox was something that people were had emotional and personal reactions to, in that it was very exciting for them to receive Birchbox. They wanted to talk about it. They wanted to share it, whether it was offline or online. And you can measure it if you want to distill it down to a number and like a net promoter score. But I think that's where you have to start when you think about how do you market your product. Like, it's just got to be one that people get real value from, and ideally, it's always better if they'll market it for you than having to pay for the media to get it out. The other thing that I think was sort of like counterintuitive to me, but now in hindsight I'm like such a big believer of, is that PR works. So press coverage was and still is to this day a really important part of our growth strategy. So that's making sure that we always have stories to tell, for whether it's business press, fashion and beauty press, startup press, that you've got to get your launch right. I think today, 7 years later, that's even more important. You only launch once, and you've got to get it right, and you've really got to take advantage of that, especially as a consumer business. But then once you get covered, the press isn't going to write about you again and just be like, oh, they still exist. Like, you have to have new things that you're
give them a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. So everything, when I talk to people about Birchbox, when I talk to my fiance about Birchbox, there's a very consistent story and feedback, which is that they don't use this language, but the marketing is tied to the culture of the company. That there's something about Birchbox that they love because it resonates with them, like you said, on an emotional level. It seems like a big part of that is, again, going back to the fact that what problem, Birchbox knows what problem it's solving and communicates and tries to resonate with people.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that comes through in terms of how you would hear about people talk about Birchbox.
People would talk about the videos every time there was a new box. There'd be a video of like the unboxing.
So part of it, I didn't talk about one part of the inspiration for Birchbox is actually a real life experience that I had, which was living with my best friend, Molly Chen, right after college, who is a beauty editor. And this was when I was consulting. So we both work in Times Square. She went to the Condé Nast Tower. I went to work at Bain. And she was paid nothing in publishing, but she did have access to the editor's beauty closet. So she would, if she knew I had a bad day or wanted to cheer me up or it was my birthday, she would go into the beauty closet, choose products for me, gift them to me, and tell me how and why to use them, because she knew I was so clueless about beauty products. And that was incredible. I had like a real life beauty editor who was teaching me on a regular basis. This is bronzer, here's how you use it, or this is why you use primer, or you should know about this amazing French skincare brand, and here's why. So that existed in my life, having a best friend beauty editor. And when Katya and I identified this pain point of it being hard to find the right products for you, Molly was our muse or our inspiration for the type of brand or service we wanted to create. So we said, what if we could create a best friend beauty editor for everyone? And that's essentially the brand voice that we try to speak in on a regular basis across all touch points is someone who's incredibly, well connected and has expertise, but she's your friend, right? She's not gonna, we call it glossy meets grassroots. And I think most the women in the audience, you probably all have that friend, the one who you text when you want to know what the right nail polish color is this summer, or what the best mascara is. And so we tried to create that in a brand, and Molly was our first hire. So it was part of our DNA from the very beginning. We knew that not a lot about our business model would be inherently defensible, but if that we had the right voice and connection with our customer and the right sort of relationship, that is something that would be lasting.
So one more question about Birchbox, and then we'll get back to venture stuff.
Yeah.
So as it relates to that, a big part, at the same time that Birchbox was coming up, there was this sort of huge explosion of sort of makeup videos on YouTube, and here's how to do different makeup styles and things like that. But at the same time, Ipsy, a competitor, came up kind of out of that world, right? And so this is actually a question from Josh, who's our co-director. He tweeted this question. How did Birchbox differentiate itself from competitors like Ipsy, who attempted to steal your market share? And I guess a corollary would be,
question.
How do you differentiate yourself from a competitor as they come up doing a fairly similar thing?
So the beauty community has the very engaged and excited beauty content community existed years before Birchbox was ever created. It was actually part of the reason we were so excited about the business model, is that we saw what was happening with beauty blogs and the way that beauty influencers were creating huge followings online, or peer-to-peer makeup review sites, and the amount of, a single product would have thousands of reviews. And we knew that if we could plug into that culture and be an active participant in it, that it could be a great engine for growth. And that is what ended up happening organically. So in terms of our early market traction, some of those bloggers or influencers were paying customers. And what Birchbox ended up being for them was like a blog post in a box, right? I think the hardest thing when you're creating content online is to be like, what should I write about today? And when Birchboxes arrived, it was this natural content touch point that it became known as Birchbox unboxings, where people would film or take pictures of opening their Birchbox, because it's personalized, we curate it, they don't know what's inside. So they show their genuine reactions to what the box looks like, what the theme is, the products they received. And not everyone gets the same thing because we target based on your beauty profile. So it created also a conversation between all of those people. Anyway, so that was a huge part, and still is a huge part of the what's special about Birchbox and the relationship to beauty enthusiasts. So Ipsy launched, I'd say maybe 2 years after us, right, with the biggest YouTube star in the world, I think, as a co-founder. And by that time, we were sort of used to the copycat game, right? We had seen, the Birchbox in Israel launched. The Birchbox in Germany actually had models who looked like Katya and I film videos in German.
Oh my goodness.
The German Katya was called Katya. The German Hayley, I think, was Helena. So we were
do you think
sort of we were oh, okay, here this goes again.
Do you think about
but
international patent law and trying to sue people at that point, or
you can't patent a business model.
Right.
Believe me, if we copyrighted and trademarked everything, so anyone that copied our logo or had anything that was confusing in terms of our brand name, we would certainly defend. But you can't patent the IP behind a business model.
Right.
Anyway, so when Ipsy launched, and Michelle found and her following, that's incredible growth engine. And they've fast forward. I think the market is big enough for Birchbox and Ipsy to coexist. We have a different voice. We talk to a different segment of consumers, both in terms of the price point of the products, but also just like the aesthetics and the style. And the value proposition and business model are different in terms of we're a retailer, so focus on the trial leading to full-size purchases of products. What Ipsy is all about trial and discovery.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we have a question from DSMENYC. Hey, how's it going? What's your name?
Brad.
Brad? Hey, thanks, Brad. So
I like how people get to raise their hands but then not say anything.
no. I must ask the question. We've had some people who have a 3-minute question and then it gets a little crazy.
Sorry, it's 140 characters.
Gets a little longer than a tweet, yeah. So Brad's question could go in a lot of different ways. So, but his simple question is, as a startup looking for funding, how many slides do you like to see in a pitch deck?
21. No. Did you think I'd have an answer?
I mean, I had an idea in my mind.
There's a magic number.
Kawasaki's recommendation, but I didn't know if that was
Ooh,
do you care? Do you care about the number of slides in a deck?
I do not care. I care more about the content in the deck. Yeah, let me think about it. It's not about the size of your deck. I think the most important thing, so first there's how you get in touch. That's important. I think to paint the picture in terms of how the world is going to be different because your product exists. So don't forget the big vision part of it, but also have enough about the practical. So what is the actual product? It's surprising how often people forget to put that in. Make sure you let us know how you're going to make money and what your business model is. Include information about the team. I think as long as you cover the major bullet points, it doesn't matter if it's 100 slides that are really graphic or if it's 5 slides that are super dense. It's up to you.
Have you ever had someone come in without a deck and just say, I'm going to tell you a story? Mm-hmm. And does that go well?
Yeah, it can. I think if I don't know you, I probably want to see some information before I take a meeting. So the whole well, if you take a meeting, then I'll show you my deck sort of trick, I don't like. So be willing to send some information so I know why, who you are and what you're building. I actually prefer to have meetings that are more like conversations. So most of my pitches, I sit down and I say exactly what I said before. Startups are really hard. Why? Tell me why.
Right.
And sometimes that opening question leads to more questions, and we never even look at the PowerPoint. Other investors are different, and they say, you send a PowerPoint, let's go through it. You really got to sort of feel out the vibe in the room. But we have invested without a PowerPoint existing.
It's also it's a consumer-focused seed fund, right?
Well, we're generalists.
Generalists, okay.
Yeah.
So
we do a lot
what's the full range of possible investments from first round?
So in terms of industries, I'd say we're tech generalists. Mm-hmm. So what we're looking for are fantastic founders with big ideas in huge markets. But that could be anything from agriculture to e-commerce, to SaaS, to you name it. I think we actually like the most when it surprises us and we say, oh, we've never seen that before.
What fund is first round on right now? How big is it?
Okay, so the general stats about first round. So first round's been investing for over a decade. And so we were one of the first institutional seed funds to exist. We're investing out of our 6th fund. And we, as our name implies, first round, we like to be the first institutional round of funding. Typically, that means you're raising between $1 million or $3 million. Our check size in that round is we're collaborative, so usually we're part of an investment syndicate. So our check size is $500,000 to $1 million. We're very comfortable leading rounds and setting terms, which I don't know if any of you raised money yet or in the process of raising money for your startup? Like the most annoying thing you could hear from people is like, love you, love the idea, let me know when you have a lead. Right? Like, have anyone fallen into that trap where you're like, why can't you be the lead? We will lead. We will set terms, and we're set up to be the best partner you could possibly have in those critical 2 years of company building. So helping you find product market fit, helping you hire that first team, helping you figure out pricing, and helping you get to the next round of funding, to the Series A.
Great. So I think we have time for, let's just do one more question and then we'll wrap up. Last question from Twitter is from Morgan Hirsch. How's it going, Morgan? So Morgan's focused more on paid PR and marketing. His question is, roles like PR and paid ads, what's your opinion in terms of hiring someone internally to focus on that or using an agency? I mean, how do you mentioned PR before.
Yeah, so good question. I'd actually put like PR and communications and paid marketing, those are two very different channels. And I think, but generally my advice would be the same, that unless you're totally confident that one of these channels is going to be the growth driver for your business, you're probably going to start by dipping your toe in, right? And there's a few ways to do that. There's either deciding that like a generalist on your team is going to just sort of like figure it out. I think that works a little bit better for paid marketing. So like setting up early SEO, early SEM, putting like a small few $1,000s budget against it a month and getting a sense of what the CPAs are like before you decide to really ramp it up, either by making a dedicated hire or working with an agency. For PR, you can DIY with a generalist or as a founder. I've seen some people do that successfully. But if you're in a consumer business, like I said before, you only launch once, or as I think Jeff Rader from Harry's coined this, hashtag YOLO, you only launch once. Like, you've got to get it right. So you probably should take part of your launch budget and hire a real PR firm that's going to get it done right. And whether you decide to take it in-house long-term or not is how core it is to your growth strategy. So for us at Birchbox, PR it still is a core engine of growth. So we actually hired a VP of PR really early before we even raised our A round. We had a VP of PR, and that enabled us to have that like steady drumbeat of press coverage. But that depends on your business, I think.
Great. So at the end of every Startup Grind event here in New York, we like to actually hear back from the audience. So we've done the Q&A thing, but we want to hear from you in the audience in terms of who you are, what you're working on, and how the community can help you. So take a second to think about a 30-second pitch of who you are, what you're working on, and how the community here can help. So are you looking for a designer? Are you looking for a job? Are you looking for new customers? Just as long as you can fit it in 30 seconds, you're welcome to say whatever you want. Please start, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hayley. Thanks for coming. So my purpose as a venture partner in New York is to help the New York startup ecosystem. And if you guys are ready to raise money or even just thinking about it, I'd love to hear about who you are and what you're working on. So you could reach out to me at Hayley@FirstRound.
Okay. Hayley@firstround.com? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Morgan, I saw you had your hand up. There's a mic just behind you.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm founder of Public Goods. Our mission is to make healthy products affordable to everybody. We just raised money from investors who are involved in companies like LinkedIn, Netflix, OpenTable, and we're hiring for our pre-seed, and we're hiring full-time PR roles and paid acquisitions. So if anybody's interested in that, I'll be lingering around here afterwards in a black jogging suit.
All right, so it sounds like you already answered your own
You've
question.
got some killer sweats on tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Morgan. Is Public Goods?
Yeah, Public Goods.
Cool, thank you. Who wants to go next? Yeah, in the back there. Is Mike coming to you? You can still stand up, that's all right.
Hi, I'm John. I moved here about 6 months ago from Greece. And my company is Polfish. We help brands to do their own market research without the need of any market research company. And I'm used to building communities and being a community in Greece. So I'm looking forward to do the same here. And I've also been into one of the startup grinds in local.
In Greece?
So, yeah, so
That's
I really
great.
love it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Startup Grind is now in 250 cities around the world. Yeah, it's crazy. And so, yeah.
That's
And there
awesome.
were, I think, there are not, almost all of those are doing a monthly event every single month.
Very
So
cool.
it's a pretty global community. And you said Polefish? Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Who wants to go next? How about right in the front here?
Sure.
You got a mic right there.
Thanks. My name is Tino Go. I'm the founder of Dimensionally Yours. We're bringing mass customization to the furniture industry, so that folks in this town especially can scale their furniture according to the sizes constraints that they have in their homes.
That's important for New York City.
So you don't need what's it called? The couch doctor who cuts your couch in half? Has anyone had to do that? That's such a New York thing.
No, we're delivering it in the right size.
Yeah,
Okay,
good.
great. And if people want to find you?
Yeah, so come see me during the event, or connect with me at tino@dimensionallyyours.com. It's TINO at dimensionallyyours.com.
Dimensionallyyours.com? Okay, great.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Who wants to go next? Let's see. How about in the hat? Yeah. It's Mike right behind you.
Hello, I'm Anna from Australia. I just moved here with my husband and a little baby boy and loving New York so far. I've spent the last year and a half working on an app called Beauty Pro. We've been negotiating with all the major retailers to create the first price comparison app for the beauty industry. So we have retailers like Sephora and Ulta on board, and basically we're going to be the world's biggest product database of beauty products in the world with the price compare function. We've currently been able to self-fund to date, but we're just about to do our first round at the moment, so that's where I'm at if anyone wants to chat.
Amazing. What brought you to New York City?
My husband was able to get the extraordinary alien green card. He's a branding specialist and written books and such, and Beauty Pro is obviously a New York-based company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot. Who wants to go next? How about in the back? Yeah. Yep.
Hey, my name's Sid. I've just been here about 2 weeks. Came from New Zealand.
Oh, all right.
Sup, neighbor?
Competing Oceania.
Yeah, I'm here to form a team and work on my startup. Basically, it connects people who have less time and more money with people who have free time and less money. So similar to Take-Two TaskRabbit, but flipped on its head. So instead of putting your task out there and putting yourself out there, you put the task you need done, and it's a reverse bidding option. So for example, you bought an awesome bookcase from IKEA, and you want it assembled. You think it's worth $40 for someone to do it. Someone out there agrees with you, and they're like, you know what? I'll come do it for you. Someone else needs a little extra cash on the weekend. They say, you know what? I'll do it for $30. Someone else says $20. So you're driving down the price on one side and quick and easy money on the other side.
Great. Thanks, Sid. What's it called again?
Hive.
Hive. Okay, great. So let's flip this up for a second. Who wants to pitch themselves? Do you have a skill, or are you looking for a job and you want to pitch instead of pitching a company? You can just pitch yourself. Sure.
Hey, my name is Chip Kennedy. I've been working here in New York for about 6 to 9 months, and I do consulting for startups on the tech side. So I find startups that don't have CTOs in place or can't quite figure out how their dev team's been working out, and we find local talent here in New York that you haven't quite connected to and make it happen. So we've gotten, or I've worked with tech teams here to get 3 or 4 startups to market where they didn't have a tech team before, and I'm looking to work with more people in the future.
Great, really smart. Thanks, Chip. Yeah, how about right here?
Hi, I'm Saif. Thanks for the opportunity. Not fully pitching myself, but lifelong New Yorker, born and raised here in the city. 9 out of 10 headhunter calls I get are from San Francisco. So what am I looking for? Inspiration to continue staying in New York. If you have ideas, I honestly want to hear them because we're almost about to move to the other coast.
Diversity of thought, diversity of industry. If you go to San Francisco, it's a one-note town.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll talk more about that later, but if anyone else wants to inspire him, you said it's Saif.
Yes.
Saif, all right, thank you, Saif. So please inspire Saif to stay in New York City. I saw a hand here, yeah.
Okay, Emily Deadweiler. I'm a marketer. For the last 10 years, I've marketed technology products. I was part of a company from VC through public. So I did that rocket ride, and then I went and did a year at a large company, and I've decided I want to go back to a small company. So if you're looking for someone where I have deep knowledge is in demand gen. So if you're looking to scale, that's where I go best.
Great, all right.
Is he here or around?
Yeah, how about just behind you? 2 rows behind, and then we'll move back to this side. That's a hard one to get the mic to.
Hi, I'm Laurence and Pierre. We come from Paris. We founded Passport. So basically, it's a collective of Instagrammers. We do original, beautifully crafted travel stories. So basically, it's like your best friend who knows all the good spots, or your favorite travel blogger, but in a travel guide. That's what we do, and we're looking for seed money to bring the tech to the content.
Oh, great. You should talk to John from Voyager, too. John's got a...
I know you. I went to the Voyager.
Oh, Voyager is like a travel community hub. Yeah, cool.
It's amazing. Been to their breakfast.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. Thank you. Let's move back to this side. How about first sitting at the table, and then 2 people to his right.
Hi, how's it going? My name's Adam. I work as a real estate professional. My company is called Igloo, and we work with startups or companies expanding or relocating in New York markets, specifically with makers. So tenants that are, or buyers that are looking to physically make their product and need more space. Our primary markets are in Brooklyn and Queens. So you guys can see igloo.com or come talk to me after. I'm sorry, igloo.nyc. Thank you.
.nyc. All right, thanks, Adam. And next to him?
My name's Christine Henningsgaard. I work in healthcare. I've been in consumer-focused tech-enabled healthcare organizations, led operations at One Medical Group as it expanded across the nation, and I'm at Home Team now, which is in-home senior care. And I love what I'm doing. I'm happy to help people that are looking to understand either healthcare, just that industry in general, and also how to scale people-heavy service operations. So if you need help, please find me after.
Great. All right, why don't we do one more and then we'll wrap it up. But please do stick around, keep chatting with each other. We've still got a few more morsels over there. And let's, geez, how do we pick? Do you want to pick the last one?
Who has a really good question? Like only leave your, or sorry, who, this is pitching themselves?
Yeah.
Who's really awesome? People drop their heads. You're persistent. Stephen, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name's Stephen, paramedic. We've been grouping myself and about 3 or 4 other rescue paramedics. We are making a product that absolutely must work because it does not exist yet. Bringing the information that paramedics use on the ambulance to make decisions to them, because right now it's still at best in a PDF and at worst still on a 400-page document. And so my ask is that we have a group that's really developed all the business model, wireframed like crazy, but we're looking for a lot of really good tech people to start bringing onto the team so we can start working on an MVP.
All right. Thank you
That
so
does
much,
seem
Stephen.
important.
Yeah, it does. That's pretty crucial. Hayley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really
This
appreciate
was fun,
it.
guys.
Yeah.